Now let's cross over to our London studio where Juliana Olayinka is standing by to give us this morning's key business headlines. Good morning, Juliana. Trust you had a great weekend. Well, the government will introduce new measures today to protect businesses critical to public health from foreign takeovers. Do you by any chance have an idea what these new measures are all about?
Good morning, Bissy. Well, this is an interesting story, and I think the headline that the government wants to send out to the rest of the world is that they're open for investment but not exploitation. And this is really because, of course, as we all know, across the world, so many companies have been struggling due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Many companies that have staff here on furlough potentially won't be able to keep them employed when the government stops that scheme. And so now what the government are trying to say is that they want to make changes to the 2002 Enterprise Act, which will allow the government to intervene if any company has a turnover for £1 million and they are attracting interest from foreign investment. I believe one of the pressing situations which has made this come to the light again is that a UK company that makes component chips for Apple was to be taken over by a Chinese-backed firm, and that really got backbenchers, MPs and other government members pretty alarmed, and they said it was a strategic move and that it was a hostile takeover from China, and they want to prevent this from happening again, particularly with companies that are involved in vaccine research and manufacturing protective personal equipment. Now, Alok Sharma, the business secretary, he was writing in the Mail on Sunday yesterday, and he also re-emphasised this point, saying, of course, Britain is open for investment, but they don't want to be victims of hostile takeovers by foreign companies that want to take advantage of the pandemic and of businesses that may be struggling by putting their money in and then using this information against Britain. So it's a really interesting story. And obviously, there seems to be some backing behind it by MPs. And that's why we are going to see a change in that commission today.
Now, the former Chancellor, Alistair Darling, has urged the government to consider an emergency cut in VAT. But do you think that Rishi Sunak will consider this when he announces a package of measures in early July?
Yes, absolutely. It's been on the cards for some time now. VAT in this country, value-added tax, it stood at 20% since January 2011, and Alistair Darling, when he was the Chancellor during the 2008 financial crisis, I believe that VAT was lowered from 17% to 15% at that time for at least a year to try and encourage people to start spending again. The scheme is likely to cost the government in the short term about £21 billion, but it will encourage people to start spending. Now, Sajid Javid, the former Chancellor who resigned, which is why Rishi Sunak got that position, he also highlighted to the Chancellor that he believes value-added tax should be cut to about 17% for at least a year. But he went a little bit further and said that he also believes that national insurance contributions should be cut for employers to encourage people to start employing again. We already know that vacancies in the UK are declining month on month, and perhaps as well as getting people to spend by lowering the cost of products, you could also get people to employ by reducing the rate they have to contribute to the national insurance.
Now, lead us into the week. What does this look like, and what are the major things we should look out for this week?
Well, the FTSE this week started off in the red, not great, similar to what happened last week. The sentiment now for traders seems to be focusing on that second wave of infections. Before, the centre of this second wave of the outbreak was in North America and China, but now overnight, we're hearing reports of the rate of infection in Germany skyrocketing to the point where there are some suggestions that they could actually go back into some sort of a lockdown. Now it's closer to the shores, Britain are really concerned about that, which is why the FTSE opened on the red. Tomorrow, we are expecting an update from Prime Minister Boris Johnson about the 2-metre social distancing rule. There's been huge issues which have been raised by business lobby groups about the hospitality sector. When it does open, which we believe now will be on the July the 4th, some of them are saying it's just will be impossible for them to function if there is a rule of 2 metres. So there are suggestions that it should go down to 1 metre. But again, because of this perhaps second wave of infections, there will be cause for concerns for the Prime Minister. But we are expecting him to update us on that tomorrow. Then, of course, it's about that time of the month when we are starting to expect some PMI flash data, which is the Purchasing Managers Index. Tomorrow, I believe it's manufacturing for June, which is important, but I think all eyes are going to be on services, of course, because Britain is a services-based economy. 80% it contributes to GDP, and I expect that will be released before the end of the week.
Of course, we have our eyes on all of these developments, and we'll be waiting to hear from you. Thank you, Juliana. We'll see you at 1:30.